Hello grapplers and welcome to a new video. I feel I haven't said that in a while. How you been? Everything good? I have a little bit of an experiment over here. The DLCs of Street Fighter 6 are not inherently bad. We're not talking about the balancing, we're talking about the characters, the decision to add certain characters. And we're gonna try to make them better, either by moving a character to Season 2, moving a character to Season 1, or adding a character from the roster into any of these seasons. And then we're gonna have the super secret Season 4 with all characters that I think could be cool. But at least we're gonna try to do something with the first 3 seasons. We have Rashid, Aki, and Akuma. Aki is a fantastic character. I think she was a really nice addition to the Street Fighter 6 universe. I also think Ed is a very interesting character. They completely rebalanced Ed. He's a more interesting, more technical, fun character. He's pretty good. That being said, I do feel Season 1 is a little bit lackluster. Maybe because of how they've handled the rest of the characters, Akuma and Rashid. I'm gonna just say it, I think Rashid is not strong enough of a character. I'm not talking about the balance, I'm talking about the character himself. He's not really that interesting. I don't think he requires to be a DLC, and in fact this is gonna be the first character that I think should be in the base game. Ed, while interesting, he's not necessarily a character that should have been added during the first season. So we're gonna move Ed. There's one character in the main roster that should have been a DLC, but not necessarily a late DLC because of how important he is for the main story. And yes, some of you might know who he is, JP. Instead of having Rashid here, JP should have been the first DLC, and he gives the vibes of a last boss character, a boss character, since we don't have any secret characters anymore, that he is the first DLC to be released. Aki right here is well and done, that there's nothing wrong about Aki. Akuma is important. You always need to add Akuma to Street Fighter. Instead of making him the last character, he's now the third one. And this is the first change I'm gonna make between the DLC characters. Bison being the first character of Season 2 was pretty lackluster, very underwhelming. Also, Bison coming back is already an issue, but again, the rules are the rules, and Bison. And now we remove Bison from here. Just by making these changes, even though the DLCs of Season 1 are not necessarily incredible, with the exception again of Aki, at least you have a little bit more consistency. You start with a really different character, something that is not necessarily a very Street Fighter 6 or Street Fighter character like JP. You follow up with a very strong design and interesting character like Aki. You add Akuma, and since you have to add Bison because reasons, at least you add him in the Season 1 DLC. This is not perfect, but in a way it's a more balanced DLC season, I think. You have to have Terry and Mai over here, because that's the season they were announced. Also, City of the Wolves was adding Ken and Chun-Li, so it makes sense. I think Terry should have been the first one. It's bizarre that they decided that the first one was Bison. Again, I don't want to talk about Bison that much, but that character is wild. Have you guys been watching the Street Fighter League? Jesus. So we start with Terry. I would say that's a very strong start. Even though I don't like the character, I don't necessarily think he's that amazing or anything, but at least starting with a DLC character that is unexpected like Terry, that's cool. And you end the Season 2 with Mai. So you start with City of the Wolves, you end with City of the Wolves. That's a pretty compelling way of releasing the characters. Mai, of course, is the enemy number 1 right now. At least we would have survived without Mai for a few seasons. Well, a few months. You cannot escape Mai, nor her fans. I also think Elena's she should have been in the main game. There are some Elena fans. I don't think she's necessarily one of those characters you actually want as DLC. That being said, there's one character that I feel should have been DLC. She's in the main game. Manon. Let's write Manon over here. She's a pretty unique character compared to all the other ones that have installed things like Jamie or Lily. She's just a very stylized character. She reminds me of the design of G, a character that has very strong arms and legs in terms of the length of them. Very tall characters, so they look different. They remind me of characters like Q or Remy. In Street Fighter 5, he was released very late, and he was overall, compared to all the other characters, somewhat weak. And he never really recovered. He was always a mid-tier, low-tier in Street Fighter 5. In Street Fighter 6, I think it is debatable how strong he is, but overall, he was a great addition to Street Fighter 6. I do believe he had to be DLC, bring him earlier, and by doing that you have, again, this is way more balanced I think. You should start with Sea Viper. I'm happy she's in Street Fighter 6, although you could argue that the way she plays is not necessarily Street Fighter 6, the style of Street Fighter 6, which is both a good thing and a bad thing in terms of balancing. Nonetheless, she's a great character. I'm happy that she's here, and she deserves to be the first Season 3 character. We're gonna leave Alex there and Ingrid too. This is the moment where you actually add Ed. The reason is simple. Ed is a very technical and different kind of character. And the vibe that Ed has within Season 1 is not necessarily it. You have Akuma, Rashid, Aki, and then Ed in there. He feels very like shoot in. You might hate Ed, but he plays very differently. Fun combos, there's a lot of things going on. He deserves to be in a season where characters are starting to play at least a little bit differently. I'm gonna go on a limb here. I'm gonna make some assumptions, so get ready for it. I think the Season 4 should be a celebration of Capcom. Capcom has a lot of franchises, and most of them are just straight out dead, or they only have compilations, re-releases. It is time for them to acknowledge their history, and as Season 4 so late into the game, it's the perfect moment to do something interesting. So I'm gonna go crazy here. First DLC, hear me out, should be from rival schools, but not Batsu, Keisuke, or Hinata. I think they should go crazy with the rest of the characters. They could add Shoma or Natsu, for example, just to name a few. Different characters, or even Kyoko if they want to go crazy with a different style of character. Mega Man has been dead for years. They don't seem to want any kind of continuation, especially for Mega Man X. If you ask me, they should just add Zero from Mega Man Zero. And I know he's been there in SNK vs Capcom Chaos. But we don't talk about that game, unless you want me to. But you don't just add Morrigan or, I don't know, Dimitri. Go crazy with a character like John Talbane, which is the one I would add. So yeah, Darkstalkers. And now for the absolute wild one. I'm just gonna write it here. I don't know if any of you who are watching the video is gonna just back me up here. But there's one franchise, even more than Mega Man, that I feel either they don't remember that they created that franchise or they don't care. And this is the moment, and this will be Breath of Fire. How about a character from Breath of Fire? I don't think I can see this game for more than 4 seasons. And all the characters that are not here are gonna be in the main roster, like Rashid or Elena. And JP, what kind of season would you create for Season 1, 2, or 3? Or a hypothetical Season 4? Just go crazy, any kind of character. Yeah, I'm looking at you, people who want characters from 3 Wonders. Yeah, I know you. Let me know if another creator wants to do this. It would be pretty freaking cool, just to talk a little bit differently about Street Fighter 6. That's all I have for today. Take care of yourselves, keep playing grapplers, hydrate, go to the Siberian Lab on Twitch. Bye bye, I'm out of here.